Namaste and welcome viewers to a brand new episode of Mirror Prime. I'm Ashish Pareek. On the show today, we'll be talking about personal freedom, something that's guaranteed to every Indian under our constitution. But what happens when the state decides that your relationships, your choices and even your breakups must all be monitored, recorded and approved? Well, welcome to Uttarakhand's new Uniform Civil Code where love, relationships and personal freedom come with a government stamp of approval or even denial. Now, the Uttarakhand version of the UCC is just a trailer, and there will soon be a wider implementation across the nation, or at least in the BJP-ruled states. And let me be very clear, I'm not getting into the religious debate. The core concern here is the blatant risk to privacy. Under this law, if you're in a live-in relationship, you are now required to register with the state within 30 days. Failure to do so will invite penalties. If you are under the age of 21, even your parents must be informed about your partner because apparently being an adult at 18 is enough to decide the future of the nation but not your own future. And here's the kicker. Once you register, the police will also be notified. Basically, your personal life will be under police scrutiny even if you have not committed any crime. Critics are calling this moral policing under the guise of legality. And if that's not invasive enough, there's even more. Before approving your live-in relationship, registrars must verify your past relationships, marriages, and even community customs. Who you dated, where you come from, and whether your relationship fits into some traditional mold, it will all now be decided by some Sarkari Babu sitting in office. And if it doesn't, the government can very easily deny your registration based on morality clauses. So the big question on the show today is it legally, constitutionally and ethically right to let the government dictate who you can live with, for your love life to be reported to the police like it's a crime, and your breakups to be subjected to bureaucratic procedures? What's really happening? Is it as complicated as it sounds? And if it is, then why is the need for a UCC with all these clauses? Joining us right now on the show, Nirmal Kaur, former IPS officer, Sanjay Vunial, advocate, Dr. Charu Ali Khanna, former member of the NCW and a senior advocate, and also Rekha Aggarwal, who is a family lawyer. Rekha ji, I'll start with you. You just heard my opening remarks there, and I'm a simple man. For me, Uniform Civil Code is supposed to ensure uniformity and equality in personal matters. But there are allegations now, very serious allegations, that this is nothing but a blatant attempt to legalize state surveillance and moral policing in personal matters. What do you think?
In fact, my first take would be that I'm very, very amused, and I think it is extremely bizarre. That is the first word that comes to my mind. I mean, the concept of a uniform civil code, no doubt, is a very laudable concept, and it would be great if a country, in the vast subcontinent that a country is, that, if we are able to have a uniform civil code, that would make life much easier for all religions and all castes and all communities. Having said that, I think that the very idea of registration of a couple, of a young boy and a young girl who decide that instead of getting married, they decide not to get married and they decide to just live together. So who are we, who is the government in the first place to even ask them to register? How can you ask anybody to register your personal life, your love life? And I mean, the very concept of a live-in relationship gives you freedom. The fact is that you do not want to get into the legal obligations that marriage necessarily involves, whether you're a Hindu or a Sikh or of any other religion, of any other caste or community. Or even if you are, even if you're an atheist, but if you get married, you have certain responsibilities and duties towards your spouse. You cannot take law in your own hands. You cannot be cruel, you cannot desert, you have to provide maintenance. If you have children, you have to be responsible towards it, so on and so forth. But the young couple, I mean, I'm just using the word young, they could be of any age whatsoever. If a man and a woman decide that they do not want to get into such kind of legal responsibilities and they just want to live together, that is why they're not getting married in the first place. So who is the government of Uttarakhand to ask them to come and register?
Exactly.
And if you do not register, then, there will be a penalty for that, and that the police is going to come and check out, whether you're treating your live-in partner in a proper manner. I mean, what kind of a thing is this? And whether you were divorced earlier, whether you are single, whether you had another past live-in relationship which failed, or you decided to walk out, or whether there was any case pursuant to that live-in relationship. I do appreciate that the idea of registration may be a laudable concept, because the government is also talking about registration of marriages. I mean, how many people in a country are getting marriages registered, even though it is compulsory under the law? But
Absolutely.
it is true that even live-in couples, they have a certain responsibility towards each other. They cannot take law in their hands. You cannot beat up your spouse. You cannot, treat your spouse, treat your partner in a cruel manner. You cannot suddenly desert your partner. You have to be civil to that partner. But that is all. It ends over there. But now, whether your live-in relationship is now soured, you decide to walk out of it, why should anybody be concerned? I mean, for how long are we going to be so nosy in somebody's affairs? You cannot be a peeping Tom. So I think that this entire thing is absolutely bizarre. The whole purpose of registration is against the idea of personal freedom, the fundamental right, the right to live your life the way you want. So this is absolutely against that idea, the freedom that is mandated under the Indian Constitution. I'm totally against
it definitely is against the idea of freedom, and that's of course the big talking point on the show today. Also joining us is Sanjeev Unial, who's an advocate now. Sanjeev, what's your point of view here? Because Rekha ji very clearly pointed out that it's bizarre, the fact that you're forcing people who are living together to register whatever their union is. It just doesn't make sense. And keeping that aside, let's assume that there is some sort of a logic to this, but also at the same time, the big question is about privacy and safety. Now there's a case that's come up. 7th January is when a couple registered their union, and suddenly they are being hounded by so-called people who call themselves the caretakers of the society. Now, this is a major concern for a lot of people, because under this now, people are supposed to share their phone numbers, their details, their address, every single detail. So now what happens is basically you're giving out an entire list of data to the harassers or the exploiters who might use it tomorrow to come back at you.
There are three things, first of all. If we are interpreting, if we are giving a point of view to a particular thing, particular law, particular constitutional part, then we have to read it in totality. What is totality? What is the background of any country which is making a rule, state making a rule is having a background. The background of this country, specifically the Uttarakhand, is the base of our country's family. So if family is the background, then we cannot adopt the rules of Western countries. First of all, the concept of living relations in any community, any religion, any faith is not permissible in the eye of the law as far as these faiths, religions are concerned. So moreover, if registration is part and parcel, registration could be for the college, for a school, for registration of a marriages, then why not? The people who are 21 years of age, they are living together for any purpose, that should be registered. If a child born out of this couple living together, then who will be responsible for the upbringing, education, name of the father, and the remaining part and parcel of a family, who will be responsible? So looking after the base of family.
Mr. Sanjeev Unial, firstly, tell me the difference between a live-in relationship and a marriage. What's the difference? A relationship and a marriage. What's the difference?
Ashish, let me complete first of all. You have not interrupted Rekha ji. Could be correlating squarely with your point of view. So that's why my point of view is I am going into that aspect also. If that is different, that's why the registration is necessary, Ashish. Why not? When marriage's registration is necessary, when the people who are living together, there's a disturbance. So family is our background, and family background, and who is the backbone of the family is women. So we'll take care of the women, child. And what about the men? Okay, as far as man is concerned, I have touched what are the relationship between what shortcomings might be having if not registered in a living relationship. What are the shortcomings for women, for child, now for men also? A rape charges, then how when someone is registered, for example, on 1st of January, then after 9 months, 8 months, women go in the court and say that he has raped me. But registration has already been done with a registrar of that area.
Unial,
so one can
Mr.
say,
Sanjeev
yes, you are living by
let's get to the
own.
fundamentals here. let's get to the fundamentals here. You're basically saying that India is a family structure and therefore we should not allow consenting legal adults to decide what they do with their life. We should decide what they do, how they live, when they break up, when they register their union. Tell me one thing. Is this not a legal violation of Article 19, which assures right to freedom of expression? Is this not a violation of Article 21, which assures personal liberty? Is there no concept of personal liberty and freedom of expression? Tell me that.
Ashish,
Are you now telling me that religion and this whole social construct supersedes the constitution? Are you telling me that the constitution is not important? The idea of family is important.
Ashish, you are intermingling two topics. First of all, they have not banned. You cannot live in relations. You cannot live in relationship. They have not banned. State has not banned at all. But they are making it streamlined. They are not saying the person who is 18 years of age, he cannot drive. They are saying you have to be registered with the legal authorities. That is the only point. They are not banning it. If they are banned, you cannot live in together without marriage, then that is the infringement of the fundamental rights. That is not fundamental. That registration is not a fundamental rights infringement, first of all. And if it is there,
okay,
then
let's all right, Mr. Sanjeev, your point taken. Let's also get in our other speakers here. Dr. Charu Ali Khanna. Dr. Charu, now Sanjeev Unial basically says that personal liberty, freedom of expression is a completely different topic, and this is an entirely different topic, and let's not mix it together. That's the basis of his argument. But the problem here is that when he says that this is being streamlined, and this is something that the police will also take care of. Now, basically, the police will also get the details of the people who are living in together. If the police is involved, you're basically trying to say that it's a crime. And if it's not a crime in the eyes of the courts, how is the government trying to call it a crime? Why do two consenting adults who want to stay together, who are not committing a crime, who are paying their taxes, who are law-abiding citizens, why do they need to tell the police who they are, what their family does, and why they are staying together? How does it make sense?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. First, I want to clarify that the UCC is a part of the directive principles of the Constitution, which mandates and directs the states to ensure that the common family laws, common civil code is throughout India. So there is no dispute that we all feel we need to have a common civil code, and then you can register your marriage is registered in that, and after that, whatever, before that or after that, whatever religious practices you want to follow, whether it's Kabul hai, whether it's Saath Fere, or whether it's Anand Karaj, you're free to do. But now where the whole issue comes which is contentious, is regarding the live-in relations. I totally agree with what Rekha ji said, but I want to add something over here, that people are not sensitive to the senior citizens' needs. Let me tell you, it's not only youngsters, especially in the state of Uttarakhand, because there's so many educational institutes. A lot of youngsters are living together, and also senior citizens whose some spouses passed away. You need companionship. Now, why are you not marrying? A question I think raised by Mr. Sanjeev, because marriage has a lot of other implications. Marriage means your property will be inherited by then the common, when you have if you have a second marriage. So rather than disturb family relations, for companionship, a lot of people are living together. They are co-roommates. Now, are you saying that the police is going to intrude in their lives? Are you saying that you're going to reduce the autonomy and choice of women especially? Because in India, a woman has no right. She cannot decide who she wants to marry. She has no choice. Her parents always force her in the arranged marriages, and then we have all these cases of 498A and violence, etc. Now, the point is that even in Lata Singh, the Supreme Court has upheld our right to choice. So what are you doing by this moral policing? There's an invasion in her privacy and assault on her autonomy. And is she a criminal? Is the young couple a criminal that the police has to go and do some kind of verification? I mean, this is absolutely absurd. Even in the courts, when you get married or you have a second marriage, all you have to do is you attach the decree of divorce and say, that you have to state whether you're single or previously married.
The problem here, Dr. Charu, is that basically there's an attempt to force a particular idea of India on every single person who may or may not agree, and that's the problem. Nirmal
I-
Kaur, the whole concept of India is that there's unity in diversity. The problem is now you're trying to get everyone under the same umbrella. Now, for example, if a person staying with someone has to first inform the government, and then the information is passed on to the police, and then the information is passed on to the parents, how is this not state surveillance?
So absolutely, it is state surveillance. In fact, what the rule they say that within 30 days.
One second, Dr.
30
Charu,
days
Dr. Charu,
time is too short.
let Nirmal Kaur
Sorry.
respond.
Sorry.
Definitely, this is, everyone, if you're old enough to vote, you're old enough to choose who you live with. The societal watch is there, the societal norms are there, the societal kind of, straitjacketing, all that is there. But that doesn't, see, there are many things, even legally, to have a legal position. If you're an intimate partner, things are very different. If you're just two friends staying together, things are very different. So when you say live in, it's something like that Maitri
Exactly.
Karar of Gujarat and something like, that kind of an agreement, in which you live together as partners, means as partners with all kinds of, maybe, it is not as thick as marriage where your economic, social, political, all the property rights, inheritance, looking after in-laws, all that comes in. But living together itself means you are in a position of some kind of intimate position, You are two consenting adults living in an intimate relationship. That is what live-in is, as I understand, as compared to loosely, just two people staying together. Live-in is not that. Live-in is that two people intimately connected, intimate partners staying together. That is what I understand with live-in, and I think that is what we commonly intend when we say live-in. In that kind of live-in, to even in law, if you see, if you are in a fiduciary position, in a position of trust, when you violate that trust, law treats it very differently. And if somebody I'm traveling with on the bus or somebody who's just loosely a friend or a passerby, law treats that very differently. So what is the way to prove it? If anything should come, it's all very welcome. Freedom is welcome. Everything is welcome. But what does Shraddha Walker do when she's 32 pieces in a fridge? Where is that freedom? What happens? How do you establish? How do you get back that she was living in with him? And how do you put
But Nirmal Kaur,
the
are you trying to
intimate
say
partner violence
that there
laws
are no
on
such
him,
cases?
on the
Even married
perpetrator?
couples, I can list 10 such cases. I can list 10 such cases between married couples where the woman or the man has been chopped into pieces. So if you give an example,
Definitely,
there are examples on
definitely.
both
So,
sides.
so then the punishment is that over, an intimate partner violence. I'm not saying that is right. Neither that is right nor this is right. But the punishment, the law legally recognizes
Okay. All
when
right.
an
All
intimate
right. All
partner
right.
does this violence,
Rekha
violates
ji,
this trust.
Help me understand the other problem here. Again, one of the problems here, Rekha ji, is that not just do you have to register when you are with someone in a live-in relationship, you also have to get the permission of the registrar basically when you're breaking up as well, when this live-in relationship ends as well. Now help me understand how this makes sense. The government basically decides when you get into a relationship, the government is now deciding when you are breaking up. And again, the whole concept of this is that they want to empower women. Now, how does a woman get empowered if tomorrow she's being abused, she's in a toxic relationship, she wants to get out of it, but her partner is refusing to accept the end of the live-in relationship? Basically, you're just giving more tool to the exploiter.
First of all, Ashish, I would like to state over here that what exactly is a live-in relationship depends upon the facts and circumstances. Where a young man or a young woman, they decide to live together, and that will depend upon the circumstance. For example, just living together for a few days or a couple of months may not ultimately mean a live-in relationship. So relationship has to be for a long period of time where the public, where the society thinks of you and takes you as a married couple, but in fact, you're not married. So now, as I said, coming back to the first thing, when you go and register a marriage, first of register a live-in, how do you say, I mean, where is the commitment that, okay, now I'm going to live for a number of years or a number of months for the society to take me as a live-in couple and not as a married couple? No, as compared to a marriage, and a
Absolutely.
marriage, the very fact that you are eligible to get married, two people go and have a religious ceremony or a civil ceremony in the court and get a court marriage. So that is depends upon the documents
Absolutely.
which you establish in the
Rekha ji, I'm
affidavit
sorry,
that you give,
we're
or the
running out of
pandit
time now.
certificate that you are
Quickly,
married.
one
But
little
now,
point
how do you even establish the start of
Charu Ali Khanna.
Yes.
Oh, you have
Charu ji,
to-
one of the things that I really wanted to talk about on the show, and I'm afraid we're running short of time here, is the fact that live-in relationships now, this particular act says, can be denied permission if they are against public policy and morality. Now tell me, Charu ji, who is supposed to decide the morality? Is it some babu sitting in his office? His religious idea might be different to those that are the live-in partners. Whose morality will be the deciding factor here?
That's what I'm saying. This trailer, what you call, is a total flop. It's absolutely absurd. And they're saying within 30 days. What Rekha ji is saying, how will you decide at what time? It says within 30. Is 30 days enough time for a person, two people? Let's say if they're in a companionship or an intimate relationship, to decide that we're going to live together and we should register it. Is 30 days enough time for anything? I mean, it's absolutely. And just now before me, I think someone spoke about Maitri Karar. I would say this whole act and rules which have been framed are skewed against women, because just for 500 rupees you need to terminate it. A man can terminate his relationship with a woman, and men will start going for living rather than marriage. And if there's violence, she'll have no option. She can't file 498A. She can't go for 135 for maintenance. All she will have to do is, poor girl, go in the DV Act, which will take her like 8 to 10 years
Absolutely.
to decide.
Absolutely.
So I think this is terrible, this piece of paper.
Dr. Charu Ali Khanna, it's
a fake
absolutely
marriage.
laughable, some of these things that you're saying here. For example, even if you're below 21 years of age, you're supposed to inform the parents. So essentially, what these lawmakers, what these netas are telling us is that you might be old enough for us, you might be an adult if you are supposed to be our vote bank, but if it comes to deciding your own future, well, you're not adult enough. I think that's the message that they're trying to send out, that as long as you keep voting for us, we will continue to consider you an adult. And of course, when it comes to deciding on your own future, the government and the police will be doing its job. All right, Nirmal Kaurji and Sanjeev Onial, Dr. Charu Ali Khanna, and also Rekha Aggarwal, really appreciate you joining us on the broadcast here for this very insightful discussion. And viewers, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Mirror Prime. Lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned.